Hi there, my name's James Hodge. I'm here today with Diageo and Bulleit to talk about rapid infusion. Rapid infusion is a newer concept. Typically when people think infusion, they think of maceration. This is the method you've seen in bars, and you see recipes for it at home. Essentially, it's just taking a high-proof alcohol and dropping a solid in it, letting the alcohol do its work as a solvent to break down that solid and extract flavor from it. Instead of that, rapid infusion uses enormous pressure in this siphon to break down the cell structure. Essentially, what's going on in this siphon when you throw in the NO2 cartridges here is the cell structure starts to break down on the solids, allowing liquid to come into the solid and extract flavors. But instead of a few weeks, this takes minutes. You get a brighter flavor. It gives you the freedom to infuse things that may not be as high in alcohol content, and it gives you the opportunity to tool around with recipes and not have to wait a week for them to see if they turn out or not. There is a universe of things you can do with this whipping siphon. I'm going to infuse not the Bulleit rye itself because of the fact that I don't like wasting nice product. I'd much rather take a $13 bottle of vermouth and infuse that. And make sure that you're not burying the wonderful flavor in this bottle. To start, we'll take our Blanc vermouth here and we'll add it to our siphon. Now I'm gonna do about 250 milliliters here. A little bit more than a lot of recipes our research call for. Because there's less headspace and more surface area, we're going to get a stronger infusion. The reason we're not just using basil is because basil is very heavy and sweet. It's very complex, but a bit of cilantro in the mix will add brightness, an orange kind of citrus flavor to it that really helps it play a little bit more friendly with the whiskey. We've got about 19 grams of basil in there, and then half again as much cilantro. From here, we're going to add just a touch of jalapeno, not overpowering the notes that we want to play with the whiskey here. The thing about rapid infusion is that it does not bring out bitter and spicy notes quite as readily as maceration does. If you don't want those bitter notes, if you don't want your jalapeno to be really spicy, this is the way to go. Just remember to use twice as much, roughly, as you would use in a macerated infusion. Now that we have everything loaded into the siphon, we're going to go ahead and add our first charger. And right at the end, you're going to want to give it a good crank. And that sound means that it's working. Now that's got us set for about 30 seconds. Let's go ahead and add this second cartridge right in right now. At this point, we want to shake liberally. The idea here is to create more agitation beyond just what the NO2 bubbles are doing inside the siphon. Now I think we're at about 30 seconds here, so I'm going to go ahead, take that second cartridge off, set this aside, grab a towel, throw it over the top, and go ahead and let it off. Oh, it smells great. We're going to go ahead, take our sieve, our container, well, a little bit of a splash there, no harm, no foul, most of it made it in. And make sure you're pulling the solids out, and you want to get every drop of that you can. Now that we have our lovely infusion ready to go, it's time to build our cocktail. Today we're going to use Bulleit Rye. This is, as I said earlier, one of my favorite bottles. Absolute workhorse right here. 1.5 ounces into the mixing glass here. From there, we're going to add 3/4 of an ounce of this infusion right on in. I wanted to do something to kind of bring out those stone fruit notes, the apricot, the peach on Bulleit Rye. I have here a lovely peach liqueur. We're just gonna add a teaspoon of it. From there, we just need a little bit of acid. We have our lemon juice we prepped earlier. I'm gonna add just a few drops. Now, when I was developing this cocktail, I started with a 1/2 ounce of lemon juice and kept paring down further and further until eventually I just got to a few drops. And it turns out that was all it needed. A little bit of orange bitters to tie it all together. From there, ice over the wash line. Trick here is to never let the bowl leave the bottom of the glass. I've watched Japanese trained bartenders do this, and it's absolutely poetry. A veteran of the Japanese style especially, you would see they don't really move much. You don't want to over dilute, but about 40 rotations. You'll notice as well a bit of frost coming up over the top of the glass, just kind of letting you know that things are getting adequately cold in there. So, we're going to grab our glassware. You can use whatever you like. I do recommend serving this up. We're going to take our Hawthorne strainer here, a mesh strainer as well, and double strain into the glass. And look at the color on that. That's just fantastic. So now that we've finished building our drink, it's time to garnish it. I want to make sure that those aromatics from the basil are coming through in every sip. To do that, we're going to use a little bit of fresh basil as the garnish. We are going to give it a little bit of a slap. This is how we activate herbs. Nothing too hard. You don't want to pulverize it, but you just want a little bit of the oil to kind of bleed through. So there we have our lovely cocktail. Now, I see so many whiskey drinks in the cold months that are Manhattan variations, old-fashioned variations. You don't have to fall into the traps of seasonality and conventionality. Ivy Mix actually just recently spoke and said something very, very similar. We don't need to make the same drink in 1,000 different variations. Great drinks come about when you really reach for something that people haven't done before. And that can be scary, but when you sit down and you find something that works, it's absolutely beautiful. To that end, if you do end up picking one of these up, a whipping siphon, it's about $100. I recommend this brand, ISI. You can do these in 2 minutes, so why not do as many as you can? So I leave you with that, and until the next time, cheers.